Maybe I'm crazy, maybe I'm not.
All right, Matt Barnes, welcome back.
Hey.
Thank you.
Good to have you. Family.
Good to be back. Absolutely.
And there's like guests, and there's friends of the show, and then there's family. I'm
Because
just
then
gonna say,
everybody going to expect that type of introduction.
no, everybody doesn't get that introduction.
Okay.
It's not how it works.
Everybody's not family.
Yeah,
True.
exactly.
Straight up.
But thanks for joining us. It's been a little crazy here in Los Angeles with the basketball lately, and everyone's talking about LeBron. So let's just start there. Is everything LeBron's fault?
No, not at all. It's definitely a team effort, but I think the overall chemistry and focus of the team is a lot on LeBron's shoulders, a lot on Rich Paul's shoulders, a lot on Magic Johnson's shoulders.
Paul?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think that the whole trade deadline debacle of trying to force somebody's hand backfired. You know what I mean? So you're trying to tell, now LeBron is trying to tell every one of his single teammates, like, I believe in you, I need you to do this, I need you to do that, when just 2 weeks ago you were trying to throw everybody to the fire. You know, so I said it's important. Chemistry, you can never outweigh chemistry. Everything looks good on paper, but chemistry is king, and you can tell right now they don't have that.
So we talked about that a lot, like the mental element of being in trade talks and then not being traded,
Right.
and what that like wave of emotion, and then that was like basically 2 weeks, almost 3 weeks of that for these guys. And you know, everyone talks about like it's part of the business, which is very easy to say. Like lots of things are like part of the business, like especially with celebrities, just like it's part of the business, like. Okay, yeah, it is, but that doesn't make it any less horrible to experience.
Right.
Like, just because it's not your experience.
Afraid to answer your phone, afraid to look at your phone.
Right.
Like, am I going to be traded? Waking up to like, I mean, I lived it.
But you lived it. So what is that like emotionally
It's tough.
like?
It's tough. I mean, it's hard to, like you said, it's easier said than done to stay focused. You know, fortunately, I was able to stay focused and still play my game, but I was older when it happened. You know, I was late 20s, early 30s when I was happening. These guys are rookies in early 20s, you know, 2-3 years in the league. So it's a lot, you know, and especially too, LeBron came here. This team is supposed to do X, Y, and Z. You're playing for the Lakers. It's supposed to be a new day. And then, you know, to their credit, I mean, fourth in the West before he gets hurt. You know, they lose Lonzo, who's a huge underrated piece to that team. And then, like I said, the trade deadline, I think, really fractured that locker room. So it's going to be hard to get all those guys back on the same page in time to make the playoffs. But then at the end of the day, what are you really going to the playoffs for? To play the Warriors and extending your season for 2 more weeks? Because you know the Warriors are going to run them out of the building.
Well, I think what they're going to the playoffs for, in my opinion, is you don't want to run into one of those things we like, he who shall not be named, Jordan with the Wizards situation. And I'm not saying it's like that, but
So you going to the playoffs for ego? Because at this point in time, that's the only way you're going.
Well, first of all, it's not good for the league if LeBron James is not in the playoffs. We can all agree on that. As much as like the East is going to be very exciting to watch and the West is definitely going to be interesting, LeBron is king of content. So LeBron not in the playoffs is going to be as much of a story as LeBron in the playoffs, but in a very, very negative way. Because here's the thing. LeBron is a polarizing player, and he spent all of his career up until this point in the Eastern Conference. And if the first time he gets to the West, the very first year he misses the playoffs, I'm going to say they're going to say that at the end of his career.
But if we're talking about very first variables, is this not the very first time that he was injured? It's not the very first time, obviously, going over to the West Coast. Like these are big factors that can go into history. Like there's going to be an asterisk.
Don't care about that.
There's going to be an asterisk on this season, regardless, though.
Right, but we went into the season thinking that there wasn't high expectations, and it's like everyone forgot it's LeBron James and the Lakers in Los Angeles.
If they play their way into fourth into the West before he gets injured, like. Yeah, like expectations start to build as we see the potential of this team, and then when LeBron gets ripped from it and those guys fall apart, forget the trade rumors, they weren't playing very well on offense while LeBron was out.
You know, I just think everyone thought Magic. You know, Magic's involved, but just the cliche of Magic, they thought that bringing LeBron to the Lakers, it being the Lakers, it was just going to happen overnight. And, you know, being a former athlete, nothing happens overnight. You know, the Warriors didn't happen overnight. You know, it was a long, painful process of them getting to their dominance and where they're at this year. I still, you know, like I gave him and the team a pass this year. Like I said, the West is not the East. This team with LeBron healthy in the East is top 5 in the East, you know, and battling, you know, to make the second or third round in the East, I feel. But just the West is a whole nother monster. So it's tough. But to me, not making the playoffs, okay, do you want to, so what is going to be a harsher criticism? You make the playoffs and get swept in 4 games, or not making the playoffs? You know what I mean? It's a lose-lose at the end of the day. You know, it's going to be a long, hot summer for him regardless.
Well, that I agree with, but I still think that he has to at least make the playoffs for history's sake.
Right.
Like, if you look, it's going to be a mark on his legacy, especially, even though I personally don't have a problem with it, because I think that a lot of these projects were done and planned in the off season, and they're done in his downtime, which you have throughout the day, time to do other things, and it is LeBron James, and most of it is just okay, yeah, I approve it, throw my name on it, I trust you.
Right.
It's not the best look for him right now that he got to LA and he's doing a lot, like way more than he's ever done. That's pretty hard to say no for. And then they're losing, and then he's criticizing his teammates for not being focused.
I think you hit the 2 points on the head. I love everything he's doing off the court. I think it's the fact that he's losing, but then he's pointing his fingers saying focus, focus, focus. And then everyone's looking at, well, what are you really doing off the court? Are you really focusing?
Right.
So I think at the end of the day, the only real critique you can give his game right now is he's just not giving that extra effort on defense. His offensive numbers are still what they've been. He's 27-9-9, 27-9-8, something like that. A triple-double last night, but they still lose. So his offensive numbers are there. I just think it's the defense. And not, like I said, we're not telling you to go out and guard the best player anymore. We know you can't afford to do that for the sake of your team, but you can. Normally they're trying to put him on the fourth or fifth option defensively. He's covering the fourth or fifth option defensively. So it's more just about being a team defensive player and then making that extra effort in the rotations needed, and he's not really doing that right now.
What do you make of his comments overall? Because I agree with him in that, to me, I look at the Lakers like this, and I look at any team that allows losing to be acceptable like this. You can't teach young players that it's okay to lose, and then when the expectations hit, it's like, go be a winner. It's not how it
Doesn't
works.
work that way.
You have to have a mentality of winning is the only thing that's acceptable. And sometimes you're going to lose, but you got to take lessons from it. It's not about like, oh, lost, it's cool, no big deal. And I feel like that's a spillover from the end of Kobe's career. Not an indictment on Kobe, of course. Kobe's the ultimate competitor. But it's a mentality that kind of crept in with the Lakers at the end of Kobe's career. And now it's manifesting with LeBron here. Like, you have these young players, you have to keep a certain level of expectations no matter what the talent is. That's what I feel like winning organizations do. So everyone expects to switch to flip on because LeBron's here, and that's just not how it works.
I think it's really a thin line that he's treading on right now from a standpoint of playing basketball in LA is always more than just playing basketball first and foremost. But I think right now what it's shaping out to be, maybe without him even realizing, is he's pointing the finger so much that they're trying to separate him from the team.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's almost like LeBron and then the misfits or whatever you want to call them. Like, you're not doing this, you're not doing that. And I don't think he means that. I think he means it in an encouraging, positive way to get the guys going. But the way it's playing out in society and in the way social media works, it's almost like LeBron against the team. So I agree with you. You don't want to be comfortable with losing. I mean, that's the worst mentality as a professional athlete can have. But like I said, it's going to be hard for these guys to buy in, one, because you just tried to clean house. Whether that was you, whether that was Magic, whether that was your agent trying to help, and your agent doesn't want Luke Walton there. So there's a lot of things going on around you, but you need your team to buy in. I think why he's always been successful with those other teams, Cleveland, for an example, is may not have had the best talent, but those guys all believed in themselves, and they believed in him, and they believed in the bigger picture. It's hard for me to, I just tried to trade you last week, and I'm going to tell you, man, I need you, and I believe in you, and then it's hard for everyone's going to be like, man, get out of here with that shit. You know what I mean? So it's right. Like so it's a tough situation, but like I said, everyone says it's pros. You got to expect, you got to this, but at the end of the day, everyone is human. You know what I mean? So going back to the point of, man, am I going to be traded? Am I not going to be traded for young players? That's a monster. And then being in LA, and then now kind of being criticized by LeBron game after game without him really saying any names is a lot. So I think he just needs to take a step back. I think more than anything, he just needs to hug his team. These guys need to get back on the same page. They need to feel the love, maybe go do a team event, team activity, do something to get guys back. And, I remember early in the season, I loved watching Lakers because they reminded me of the Warriors from a standpoint of when someone scored, they're all jumping up and down on the bench and cheering, and everyone's in tune when Luke is talking, and when LeBron is talking, everyone's locked in. You watch them now, and they're all on islands. They don't give a they don't care what's being said. They're not focused, and they're not playing for each other, and that's where they've kind of lost. Like I said earlier, the chemistry is not there.
Right. So let's talk about the East a little bit, because they're going to be a playoffs.
Yeah, they're allowed to. That's the thing.
I really like the Raptors. I'm not sold on the Bucks. Maybe I'm being silly there.
No, you're not.
But I just feel like everyone just forgot what Kawhi Leonard is, and I think we have this hangover with the Raptors. But LeBron James was in the East when that was happening with the Raptors, and I feel like this is a different team. I like Philly, but I don't know if they're
Can you count on them?
mentally there because they're really sloppy. They have a lot of turnovers. And the Celtics, I don't really know what to expect with the Celtics. From Jason Tatum is great, and I think he's going to be an all-time great player. But I still don't know what to expect from the Celtics, although I picked them to be in the finals at the beginning of the year. So who do you like the most out of the East right now?
I think to take one step back, I think the East is going to be a fun as a whole to watch during the playoffs because there's no big brother LeBron no more out there kind of bullying everyone and almost putting fear in people's hearts. So I really think that the East is going to be fun. I think you touched on a lot of great points. Milwaukee's yet to prove themselves and really been there. Giannis has never won a series as amazing as he's playing in the regular season. The playoffs is a whole nother monster. Philly is still young and still really doesn't have an identity, although they have a lot of talent, a lot of great pieces. I love Tobias Harris and Jimmy Butler and the pieces they put together. On paper, they look great. On the court, can they make that work? But then, like you said, Toronto has been there. They've done that. You pretty much trade Kawhi Leonard for DeMar DeRozan. DeMar's a friend of mine, but Kawhi is a better player. You know what I mean? So you swatch that. You're able to get Marc Gasol, Siakam, man, he's an emerging star. They really got a lot and they got a solid bench. I really like Toronto. And then Boston is another team that's been there, done that, but they did it without Kyrie. So Kyrie is going to be here now. How do these, like I said, how do these guys exactly take, how do these younger players that did it by themselves last year, shape their game around who, Kyrie is going to be the focal point. Right. You know what I mean? And he's a proven playoff killer, so you got to respect that. So, like I said, when you're playing with great players, and I put Kyrie in a great, in a great upper echelon of players, the other players have to learn how to function their games around them. And like I said, they did it without him last year, making it to the Eastern Conference Finals. So it's going to be interesting. But I like Toronto and Boston in the Eastern Conference Finals. And I'm probably going to have to go Toronto to represent out of the Eastern Conference, to be honest with you.
I'm going for the baby dinosaurs.
I mean, up against everything else, the Celtics don't like each other. I don't. As good as Kyrie is, there's Al Horford as the leader of that team is different than Kyrie Irving as the leader of that team. It's just the product's not there. Giannis, Chris Middleton as the other all-star, who's clutch between those two? As good as Giannis is. Raptors you add Kawhi, this is a no-brainer.
I just think that there's a thing with Kawhi because of the way that it ended with the Spurs that everyone just forgot.
It's a whole
that
year
he was
not watching
Finals MVP. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Right.
It's what have you done for me lately? And I think everyone forgot Kawhi Leonard's really
top five
really,
in the
really
world.
Good.
Top five in the world. Like I said, and you're really just trading out your two, the best player for a best player. And Kawhi is a better player than DeMar, so you would think it would be seamless. But then, like I said, getting that chemistry down, and I think they're doing a good job of that. Slowly but surely, they're still adding pieces. But they have 7 or 8 solid pieces, playoff proven. You can never underestimate Danny Green because he's been in so many finals. They got a very solid bench. I really like what Toronto is doing, and I think come March, April, they'll be the top dog in the East.
Who do you like for the MVP right now? It's been Giannis has pretty much been leading the way for most of the season, but Paul George has made it very interesting.
It's tough, you know
and
what I mean?
Of course, James Harden's in there.
And then I think it's crazy that no one ever mentions Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant, and I say that because he was
they kind of cannibalize each other with an
still,
MVP race.
You know what I mean? What KD and Steph consistently do. I mean, I think everyone holds it against them because they have such a great team. But if you look back, you look back on the Showtime on the teams and in the old boss, they had tons of Hall of Famers, tons of All Stars, and they didn't really get held to that. I just think we're in a new day and age, and people didn't like KD's move, so they discredit his talent. So I think KD has played at an All-Star level this year. Giannis has been playing out of his mind. He's playing out of his mind. What James Harden has done goes without saying. And then I really love for just the story as a whole of what Paul George has been able to come back and do, and really crediting Russell Westbrook finally being okay with being Robin instead of Batman. You know what I mean? Russell Westbrook was the only person able to stop KD. He was the only person that was able to stop KD. You know what I mean? And I think they butted heads more than just being teammates and utilizing each other's talents. So I think it's been a huge step in Rush's maturity and game, and as he gotten older, realizing, okay, I got a dog right here, and I had a dog before and I lost him. Let me feed this dog these bones so he can go do what he does. And like I said, really hats off to Russell Westbrook understanding his role and place on that team now, and I think they're a much more dangerous team now that he's taken a backseat to Paul George and let him do his thing.
Mm-hmm. So the tournament's coming up pretty soon. Last week, the whole conversation was about Zion Williamson and is he going to continue to play? And
Paul
he's
George's
blowing, it's a transition there, blowing his shoe up. Do you think that Zion should finish the season if he's healthy? I don't have a problem with his decision either way. He said he's going to play, right. But obviously that's going to give some people anxiety who care more about his NBA career. But what's your opinion of Zion in the NBA, and should he continue playing for the
I think what he needs to do is find out first and foremost exactly what's going on with his knee. I think he should have a Duke doctor check it out. He should have an outside doctor check it out, and then do what's best for him. I think too often we try to he's a kid. He's 18 years old. At 18, all I wanted, you couldn't get me off the basketball court. You know what I mean? And I think adults and money always want to mess up a good thing. You know what I mean? You look at LeVar Ball. You know what I mean? You messed your kids up. You know what I mean? You took one out of high school, you took one out of UCLA, you put them over somewhere. Now you're talking all this trash, and no one likes Lonzo. So I think adults mess things up too much. You know what I mean? This kid is 18 years old. Enjoy your time. I remember, I went to school with Earl. UCLA was one of the best times of my life outside having children. I had a blast in college. It was just fun, free, and it's a last real little bit of fun and kind of carefree life you get to have before you become a professional athlete, and then that's a whole nother beast in itself. But to me, if he's healthy, I absolutely think he should play. And especially because from a standpoint of, you got to think, if he never got hurt, no one would have said any of this. Yeah. It's not like, say he goes on the pace he's going on, and right before the tournament, they're like, maybe you shouldn't play in the tournament because you might get hurt. You know what I mean? Like, no one would even thought to say that. So, like I said, he had a non-contact injury, a shoe malfunction, and he sprained his knee. You know what I mean? So you tell him to sit out. Okay, so are you going to tell him not to work out then? Are you going to tell him not to play no pickup basketball? I mean, you can get hurt and all that stuff. So to me, if he's healthy, I think he should play.
I agree. I get a little weird about the NCAA, and obviously, like, the conversation about the tickets was, ridiculous. It was crazy. Obama's, courtside. So it gets a little out of control with it, but I am excited about it because LeBron is, let's just say it.
He's running his course.
He's
Father Time
out.
is undefeated, man.
It is undefeated. Although he gave him a strong run. I'm not saying it's over.
Gave him some good stuff.
He's
not done.
Not by any means.
All I'm saying is the future of the NBA looks exciting. There's a lot of young, exciting players. We often focus on LeBron and whatever is going on here in LA, but there is a lot a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, we were talking about Luka earlier.
I completely agree.
Luka, I'm so
excited.
Love
Luka. Luka's a dog. I love Luka. Great player. But like you touched on it, Joe, I think that the NCAA is a broke slave mentality system. You know what I mean? The way you come in as, I'm speaking for myself. Like, I couldn't, if I didn't have a scholarship, I wouldn't have been able to go to college. So you got to go, and you got to be a student, and then you got to be an athlete. And then those two are hard enough alone.
And UCLA
then,
is no joke.
Right. And then, you got to incorporate the social life, because regardless, that's what you're going to do. You're first time free as a child, so you don't have time to work or do anything. So, you're kind of handcuffing these kids when tickets were going for the price of a Super Bowl ticket. The former president was at the game. All this was because of who? One person, or the team. They got other talented guys, but because of Zion, right? But these guys don't get to touch none of that. You know what I mean? And if they touch any of it, they're going to get suspended and jeopardize their career. When these schools are sitting back and making millions upon millions of dollars off these kids.
The system's broken. I don't know how to fix it as far as paying kids, because you are going to get into, do you pay the female athletes? Do you pay the polo players the same as you pay the tennis players, as you pay the football players? And it's different at every school. And then how does Division III work? And it's very complicated as far as that goes. But I do think this simple thing is like, getting a free meal.
Something.
Or,
donations,
maybe getting some percentage of your likeness.
Just keep turning your head, because obviously these kids are super talented, and that's why people are throwing opportunities in. Just let them enjoy it. Why not? Yeah. You know what I mean? But
I'm glad. I know a lot of people are very critical of the one and done rule being removed. They think there's going to be just this influx of young guys just going straight to the league. Maybe a few extra guys will declare for the league than need to. But at the end of the day, it's all going to sort itself out. Everyone knows that they're not ready for they're not ready to go straight to the NBA just because the rule is not there. There's still going to be only a few guys that do that, and everyone thinks it's an NCAA rule. It's actually an NBA rule.
Yeah,
every couple of years, even too.
And I think, like I said, it's about business, and I think that overall, it's sad to say that for every Zion, there's going to be eight Kwame Browns or guys that just didn't pan out. And I think the numbers and the revenue off that one player is going to make it all worth it. And it's going to be unfortunate. A lot of guys get bad advice entering the draft. I mean, there's usually like 250 players in each draft, and there's only 60 spots. So a lot of people are getting bad advice. But I agree. Like I said, I think it's oddly enough that all this is starting to talk about the one time that they think, the next meal ticket for the NBA gets hurt. You know what I mean? But I think there's going to be some sacrificial lambs in this situation when you open it back up to kids straight out of high school, because a lot of kids are going to get bad advice. A lot of kids aren't going to pan out. But, for, like I said, everyone Zion, there's going to be a handful of guys that won't make it. But I think you need to be able to give these kids a chance, because some of these kids are ready to go off the bat.
Yeah, some of them are ready. And to me, I just feel like it's the same with football. Like, it's a situation where other sports don't necessarily make you do that. You don't have to do it in tennis. You don't have to worry about it in golf. Like, there's if you're a musician, you don't have to go to college for 1 year before you move on to going to be a professional musician. I don't feel like if you're good enough, you're good enough. If you're not, that's your decision. And you make all kinds of decisions in life. And I mean, sometimes you're right, people get bad advice, but I feel like it should still be an option. But the tournament's going to be exciting either way. I'm glad he's going to be in it. But thanks for joining us. We appreciate it.
No problem.
It was,
Thank you for having me.
There's not as much drama as last time.
What was the drama last time?
Well, what are you talking? Are you trying to get on?
No, we just had more. We had more dramatic conversations.
Oh yeah. We're serious. We was talking. You just come off the you had a Bleach Report campaign. And, the cannabinoids.
The 420.
Cannabinoids.
How do you say? I don't know how to say it.
Cannabinoids.
Cannabinoids.
It's been a year. That's when I came in last time. Was around. It's been a minute.
Time,
No, it's fun. I'm still doing a lot of advocacy work. I'm doing a UCLA cannabis research program, which I'm really proud about. But really, just trying to bring awareness and education to the space, because I think it definitely should be an alternative form of treatment. These professional sports are, pumping us full of opioids and don't care if you drink alcohol and do other things, but you smoke a joint or do something like that and you're a bad person, you get fined and you can possibly lose your career. But at the end of the day, when we study and educate ourselves on this plant, it's a very helpful plant. Like I said, not only, inhaling it through a joint or whatever situation may be, but the more studies are doing on CBD. CBD is a miracle drug, and it's helping everyone from children to our grandparents through all their ailing problems. So I'm really excited about being able to, educate people on the matter and working with my alma mater, UCLA, in the process.
That's dope.
Okay.
All right, well, we appreciate it, Matt.
Thank you guys for having me. I appreciate it.